Well, here we are. Welcome to Talking Void, where we talk about everything important and unimportant related to our stream and stuff. Let us fill your void with empty knowledge and endless chattering. My guest for this evening is Michel, and I'm Jasper.
Hi.
Now, to the intro. And as our DM likes to say, we're back. So welcome to Talking Void. We are going into relax mode right now, talking about the things we like to do when we have some spare time. And well, as of yet, we are doing it semi-professional, I think, which is role-playing. Currently, we're doing some Dungeons and Dragons, and we thought this would be a great format to keep you guys and girls up to date of what we are doing, and well, because we can't always be online with the five of us, this is the format it's going to be. So my name is Jasper. I play Bowin, Goodheart in the Precipice of Dreams, and my guest for this evening is Michel. Want to say something?
Hello. Yeah, of course. Yeah. Hi. Thanks for watching. I'm Michel, and I play Oddleif Hrafnsvængur on the Precipice of Dreams. And I've been enjoying it a lot so far. So
Yeah.
I hear a lot of noise from the other room. Yeah.
Yeah, everyone awake?
I think so.
Anyhow, we are going to do this show based on the questions we receive, and those questions are listed below me, as you can see. And we received a couple of questions for our first show, which was pretty cool. But I thought, let's start with the following question, and that is this one. The question is from us, and it's called "Why," which is typically us, but why?
Yeah. Why? Why all this? You mean? Why are we doing this? Why am I doing this?
I don't know why you are doing this, but I can tell you why I am doing this.
Oh, if you go ahead, and then I will go afterwards.
So, when I first started viewing all these kinds of role-playing shows that are on the interwebs, I really wanted to know what happened behind the scenes. And when I watched the post shows from some of these shows that have become quite big, like Critical Role, of course, these post shows are really fun. And they, you really see how these people add to what is happening in the live show itself. But I'm not as pretentious to say that on just after our first show we have the same audience and can do the same level of hosting a show, especially because English isn't our native language. Which is no problem.
And none of us work in any form of visual media.
No,
up until now.
Up until that feels surreal. But I thought, well, we've been doing this for such a long time, and even though we do not have an audience right now that's very big yet. For prosperity, we can maybe tell you something about what's happening right now instead of doing it after a year when hopefully we've got a bit of a bigger crowd. Yes, that is an aspiration. although we are also playing to have plain fun. So a post-show after the first show, that's really what it's about. And not only to discuss what's happening in game. For example, one of the questions that we'll show you soonish is about how we prepare for certain stuff and why we do this and why we don't do that. And we have discussed with our small group of adventurers who also happen to be players, that we want to make more types of content, and I think this will be a great start to do that.
Yeah. Also, it's good to hang out. Sometimes, like, most of us have kids or are married or in relationships, and you just sometimes just need an excuse to be able to hang out with friends. Yeah. So that's also
true.
a thing.
Yeah, that's so true.
For me, why all this? So I think for the main show, I don't know if that was incorporated in your question, but I'm just going to answer it anyway. But for the main show, for me personally, it was something that I really missed. I loved playing Dungeons and Dragons. And 5 years ago, I moved to Belgium from Holland, and I've been working there. And since that time, I had to stop going to my regular D&D sessions, and didn't really take the time to find a regular group here. So I really missed it. And I remember starting to watch Critical Role maybe 2 years ago, I think. Some of these other shows, and then that itch really starts creeping up again, like, oh, I really, really want to play. And I remember calling you and go like, man, I'm watching this Critical Role stuff, and I see them play Dungeons and Dragons with cameras, and I just think to myself, that could have been us.
Yeah.
Right? Not with the experience, but just like it seemed like they were just guys playing Dungeons and Dragons, having fun. Of course, they all have their background in media or whatever, but I just saw a group of friends having fun and playing Dungeons and Dragons, and people actually liked watching it. Like, they love watching it. I love watching it, and it was such a revelation to me. And then I just felt like, yeah, why can't we do it? Just do it. Let's just play Dungeons and Dragons and turn on the cameras and see what happens.
Yeah.
And then for this post show, same thing. Just love hanging out. As much as I love playing Dungeons and Dragons, I also love talking about Dungeons and Dragons or other games or books.
Well, I think you love talking in general, Michel.
That we care about. Well, that's also true. That's also true. I think it's a good thing, but sometimes
it's
people
a good thing.
Tell me it's not a good thing.
Especially when we are doing this kind of stuff, it's a very good thing.
Okay.
That's why we can do this.
Yeah. A post show, just turn the cam on and the mic on and let's talk about stuff. We're all huge geeks. We all love different things and the same things. There's a lot of overlap, and we just want to talk about it, share it. And same for our Dungeons and Dragons adventure now, the Precipice of Dreams. We had our first episode. Things happened. We want to talk about it. We don't see each other on a regular basis, so we do it like this.
Yeah, it's funny that
everyone enjoy.
It's funny that you would say that we're going to talk about our first episode. Maybe we should do that. But it's not really in the questions. Well, there is parts of it in the question because I think that's pretty funny. We have got a couple of questions. Some are technical. Some are addressed to us as players in the Precipice of Dreams, and let's dive into the questions. I think it's time for
go ahead, man.
Yeah, okay.
Fire them up.
Yeah. So the first question, or actually the second question, because we did our first question for ourselves, is from Esner R, who is also, by the way, the person who said asked me about the name for this show, Talking Void. We had some discussions if it should be the title, but we decided it would be the title. And I like it very much. So, and he's in chat right now, and he's a friend of mine. So it's a pretty close-knit group.
Fire away.
Okay, so the question is, you all learned to play D&D with in-person sessions, I guess, and now most of us cannot join at the same table for a game. What new things does an online session bring to you that you had not experienced in in-person sessions? Not. That's where it went wrong. So, I thought it was a pretty interesting question off the bat. Because...
Thank you for your question.
Yeah, thank you for your question. Because is that what we are doing? Was the first thing that I asked myself when I read this question. Are we playing online as we would around the table? Or because I'm a DM as well, and I DM 4 different parties at the moment. And when I do that, I'm playing as if I was at my table, but am I doing that when I'm playing Precipice of Dreams? That's interesting.
I see you're going to answer the question.
No. That's the setup for the question. So I'm not going to talk immediately about what I think about. But what's your first thought about this question?
It's a really good question, and I think I assumed that it is different playing with a group around the table or playing online as we did the Precipice of Dreams. And I think they both have upsides and downsides. And I think that if you cancel them out against each other, then maybe you end up with doing the same thing as you would in a regular play group in person. But so one of the downsides is you can't really converse or interact personally with the other players. Sometimes you can just like either a wink across the table or just okay, do we understand each other or whatever. It's really difficult to do now. You can't really do that without actually saying, Jasper, look at me. Okay, are you reading me? Are we going to do this? And those sorts of interactions you really miss now playing online. On the other hand, those sorts of interactions always evolve into small conversations or other things where people don't pay attention to what's actually going on in the adventure, so they miss parts of what's being said, which is way more difficult now. Sorry?
Joking.
Oh yeah, I didn't. Your microphone cut off, so I didn't really hear what you said. But so yeah, people start talking amongst each other and might miss stuff. So that's the downside of that same thing, which we don't have now. And it's a bit cleaner. Also, I noticed that people really take their time online because they know that if all microphones are on at the same time, you don't hear anything anymore. So people really take the time to wait until the other one is finished talking and then sort of interject whatever they want to say. So that's really nice. You don't really see that a lot in regular play groups.
No, it's a big difference, I think. It's one of the things I really like about playing online. The attention you get towards one character. However, it has the drawback that when more people start to talk, it becomes total chaos. So that's the other thing, and that doesn't happen at the table.
At the table it also becomes chaos, but there it doesn't matter because nobody's watching. It shouldn't be understandable for anyone except the persons that are involved, and then if someone misses something, they can just go and ask like, hey, what did I miss? Sorry, I wasn't paying attention or whatever, which is also a bit stupid. Like you can do that in the online campaign as well, but
and that's the difference. What I was talking about is that we are doing a live stream where we play the Precipice of Dreams from our character points of view, but we know that there is an audience watching us, so we can't just play as we do around the table, because there, if the chaos happens, that's okay, and someone starts to shout from shut up or whatever, or it quiets down normally.
Yeah, sometimes you have to pay attention. You can't so last session, let's just cut to there. For example, I'm going to use it as example now. Michel, in the future, you'll have to edit this out, and I'm very sorry for myself. But last session, I said I could have got the motherfucker, which is something I should edit out then.
Well, that's so the point.
It's something you say in the heat of the moment. And so now in the future, I'm probably going to watch my language a bit. Not that we're that uptight with language, but when you're on YouTube, it matters.
Yeah, it's the same as someone in chat named Rusius, who could be more than one person, says less beers, snacks and herbs when playing online. I don't know what he's talking about with herbs, but that's true. You know, we can't just spend our time eating and drinking that we would do when we're playing at the table, where a bag of chips is in the middle, in the center, and everything.
That's absolutely true. I usually snack a lot during D&D sessions, and now I don't eat at all. I do drink, but usually when somebody else is doing the talking.
Yeah. So differences, both positive and negative things, I think. Mostly communication things, because I think that the adventure is really how we want to play an adventure. We have got quite a couple of years of experience, each of us. We don't really play differently on stream, although I'm a bit conscious about are there any epic moments in this 2-hour session for our viewers. But at the same time...
Sometimes I am too. I think one of our test sessions, we didn't have any combat, or we started with combat and then went into a big RP session, and I was thinking to myself, yeah, some people will find this extremely cool and other people will just... this is where we lose them or something. I don't know. It was just the thought. But then you're focusing on that thought, and then you might miss something that's being said. But we're all getting used to it. It was our first episode. We did 2 test streams, and now the first episode. So we did 3 episodes.
But I know certain other shows that do whole shopping sessions, 4-hour-long shopping sessions. So I think you'll manage.
Yeah. And even some of the players like that, and others don't.
Yeah.
So
indeed. We'll lose interest. Some people will lose interest in combat, and others will lose interest in role playing.
True. And I think that's something that I really liked about last session, because I think last session was mostly combat, which is like, I'm not an only combat guy, but we all wove our own RP into the combat as well. I think we had a lot of really nice character moments, or seeing people go through stuff in combat instead of in conversations, and both of them actually. So that was really nice.
So I hope that answered the question. It was quite a long answer. This is a half-hour show. We're 18 minutes in after our first question, so maybe it will last a bit longer.
Maybe we'll go for an hour show there, or 2 hours. If you wanted a short show, you shouldn't have asked me as your first guest, I guess.
That's true as well. 4-hour show, says someone. Well, I know who says it. Our DM says it.
I could do 4 hours.
I could do 4 hours as well. Shall we go to the next question then?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Hit me up.
Okay. Soul of Flame says, what are you burning? I don't know. This is a strange question. I think I misplaced that one. I remember why I put that in. It's because... I had some test questions, and probably this was one that
You're talking about the question, but I don't know what the question is. So
what are you burning was the question, but it was a fake question, which is a bit strange. But because now for some reason I'm missing a question, and we're back to Esner again, Esner, who is now asking the same question, and is asking you a question, Michel.
Oh.
And the question is... a
personal question.
Oddleif seems to be fairly quiet in the group, which is, I think, unique. Yet was the first to notice that 3 attacks in about the same number of days is, well, a lot. Tell us a bit more about her background. Is she unfamiliar with conflict, that she was most startled by it?
Sorry, so I missed the second sentence. The first was... that I'm quiet in the group, but I was the first to notice what?
That 3 attacks in about the same number of days is, well, a lot. Tell us a bit more about her background. Is she unfamiliar with conflict, that she was most startled by it?
I had first to notice the 3 attacks.
3 attacks in the...
That's a very good question.
Well, first off, let's talk about the fact that you're the most quiet one of the group.
Yeah, is that true?
I don't know.
Can we get critical stats to do our stats and check how many words everyone has said? Because I don't know.
Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
No. Well, Oddleif does keep to herself. And she is quite reserved, more so than myself. So yeah, she keeps to herself a bit more, and she's perceptive as well. So she observes a lot, which might be why she noticed the attacks. She is surprised that she's been attacked so much, because she spent a lot of time on court, so she knows a lot about the country and how things are going and how it's ruled. And for example, those bandits attacking that many times in those days, having their own fort somewhere in the countryside, is really upsetting to her. She never considered that a possibility. This is a road that she traveled on before with her parents when she moved from her island to court and back every year. And this is the first time that happened, so that's really confusing to her. On the other hand, she has been traveling for a bit, usually in bigger groups and caravans. So she has witnessed attacks before. And especially the first attack, which the public actually hasn't seen that attack, I think. So maybe we shouldn't talk too much about it, although we do plan to make those first test episodes available at a later point, or with some restriction or whatever. But that first attack, she didn't really fight at all. The second attack, she didn't do much either. She didn't fight either. It was only the third attack that she started pushing back, which has a very good reason why she was so confident in that particular combat. Because so the first episode now, which is the third encounter we had, she got out of bed, grabbed a spear, ran into the other room, and just started throwing punches, sort of. And there's a reason for that.
I think we're all a bit fed up. But you say there's a reason to that, so there must be more to it. But I think that we're all a bit fed up.
Fed up, yes.
Which is funny, of course, because I will never be fed up as a player. But imagine these people who have never experienced such a thing suddenly experiencing all this rage around them and being going at it.
That's also an interesting thing now. I feel to go back to our first question that when a regular play group around the table, where you're just with friends and nobody's watching, people can get away with saying whatever and then go back an hour later like, yeah, I didn't really say that. I didn't really mean to do that. It's just for fun, or you make a joke. And now I really feel more like, okay, if I say it, it's canon.
Yes.
Some stupid thing like that. So you have to be more careful with what you're actually saying or doing.
Yeah.
And that also caused me to think more. I used to think that, I think that I get into my character quite a bit, usually when I play with the different characters that I had. But now with Oddleif, I'm thinking more about it. Like, what would she do? Does this actually make sense? And up until now, I think it all makes sense. There's some things that I would have done differently, maybe, but then again, nobody in the real world is consistent in their behavior anyway. So it makes sense for our characters not to be also.
Well, I think that's what we're discovering in fantasy in general right now. That a lot of things, a lot of times you see that instead of the rational behavior, the emotions are coming through. No, not every decision is based on facts, but a lot of stabbing happens because of anger and hate. Game of Thrones is a great example. Why did they do that? They could have solved it another way, but no, that's not how it works. So I really like that you said that about Oddleif, emotion coming through and making decisions based on that as well as rationality. There are a couple of things in chat.
I'm just wondering, just for Bowin, I don't know how you feel about it, playing Bowin, but do you have a list of things where you're like, okay, in these situations, I would react like this? Did you think about that? Did you write it up? Because for me personally, I always mean to write it up, that I'm go like, okay, I just should note down some things where it's like this, just to make it easier for myself, that if I really don't know what to do at a particular moment in time, that I can just look at that and go like, okay, this would be.
No, but I think that I do not have such a list. But while I was writing my background, a lot of that behavior that I would show came up, and it really changed my way that I started playing Bowin. And so I often refer to that. I have my background open on the second screen, so I have bolted important names.
Okay, yeah.
And that's how I keep track of what my emotions would do in certain situations. But I am trying to play a pretty complicated character, which will.
I think we all are.
Yeah.
Just going by the first sessions, it's.
Yeah. So I will make mistakes, but that's why I like the emotional argument. Not everything is determined by rationality. Yeah. There are a couple of additional questions. Why was she so confident now? Is a question that Esner asks. And Drusius asks, why did she keep stabbing the fuck when he was already dead? So you determine how much you want to go into this, of course, but...
Yeah, that's difficult because spoilers and stuff. No, that's nonsense. But
well,
the confidence now in combat has a really good reason. She didn't change from a playwright into a warrior woman all of a sudden. That's not what's going on. But now in this particular combat, she felt really confident, and that showed through. Doesn't mean that she will be that confident in next combat to come. Hopefully we don't get into combat anymore, but for a while. So yeah, why is she so confident now? I think I have to leave it at that at the time being.
Okay.
It has to do with something that happened off screen in between our 2 test sessions.
Okay.
Yeah, Jasper, you don't know anything about that.
Oh.
Nobody knows anything about that. So
Okay.
yeah, that's that question.
That's a good.
Why-
I think
and-
you answered that pretty well.
Oh, thanks.
Do you want to continue, or do you want to go to the next question?
So the next question was the why did I keep stabbing the dog? The guy just needed to die. He needed to go, and I think rationale would have said, yeah, when Bowin stabilized the guy, rationale would have said, yes, this makes sense. Now we can question him or turn him into authorities or whatever. But Oddleif wasn't rationale at that time. She had been attacked for the third time in 3 days. She wasn't rational. She was just pure instinct, and she had been hurt 2 nights before, and she had been super
One
scared
night
on
before.
during the second attack. So now on the third attack, it was just they had to go. It was their time. They shouldn't. Yeah, can't say any more than that. Like the guy had to die, and Bowin stabilized him, and Oddleif was not having it. No, the guy had to die.
That was quite apparent. Yes.
Questions be damned.
So there's an additional question again in chat, which I think we'll answer in combination with one of the other questions we'll be having. Let's go to the next question.
All right.
And that's a question that really connects the thing that's being said in chat with what's happening here. So the question is from Serafina948 or 948, I don't know. I'm not very good with coming up with backstories. Any tips on how to start one? I think this is a really nice question to be answering, because I think that in the long run, this is the kind of questions that I would like to answer from the perspective of both a DM and the player for so long.
Yeah.
So that's...
It's a really... Thank you very much for your question. It's really good. I hope you're watching live. I don't think you are. Maybe, no. I don't know. But it's a really good question.
Yeah.
And I don't think there's a really simple answer to it. Creating a backstory.
It's pretty complicated.
I think of all the characters that I've played, and it's been quite a few, I think Oddleif was the first one where I thought about things that I haven't experienced as a person, or maybe was going through, that I just wanted to sort of have some sort of form of closure for, or whatever. I think this is the first time I really start diving into my own psychology and in the backstory in some way. Before that, for me, the backstory was usually something that came automatic with creating the character. I'm somebody that really likes symbolism in things, and I like a lot of things. I'm always very enthusiastic about everything, and usually my characters are informed about what I love at that particular period in time. So one of the characters that I played the longest was a human fighter called Strife McKinnon. And he was just, I think I really loved Braveheart at that time. I really loved Iron Maiden at that time. I really loved Highlander at that time. Yeah, just the idea of lawful. I always tend to go for very good, lawful good characters for some reason. So
Oh, is
then
that a
the character
reveal?
Sorry?
Is that a reveal?
No, that was not a reveal. Or maybe it was. Maybe it was. But that's something like I think if I would have to advise somebody on how to come up with a backstory, because I think in essence that's probably what the question is about, not like how I did it for previous characters, but what I would advise somebody to do is just take a look at what you love right now. Like, what do you love? What do you like? And make your character around that, whether it be like a new series that you're watching or a movie that you really liked. If you really liked Spider-Man or whatever, just like,
Build a
okay,
spider.
what's the closest thing I can get to building Spider-Man in Dungeons and Dragons? And then when it comes to when you sort of have your character idea, you have to dive into your backstory. You probably don't want to make it exactly like Spider-Man, but elements will come to you usually. Yeah, I have to think about it more a bit.
Uh,
What did you say, Jasper?
well,
Maybe I can come up with some. I think I had a good I think I had a good answer, and now I'm doubting myself. Let's go.
well, the answer is complicated because I think that there are players who start their first session without even knowing who they are, and they go into the character with just an idea of the class they are going to play instead of the character they are going to play. And once they hit session 3, they know who they are. Or session 7 or session 2 even, or even at the end of session 1. It's what happens with most of my one shots. Is that they think they build these characters and they think, well, it doesn't matter if these die, but then this one shot lasts 2 shots. And then they get attached, or at least they start to form a character based on what they rolled up. So that's a way. My way is writing quite long biographies for my characters. Just, Michel can knows this, and I did.
I once got a 10-page essay.
Yeah, and I think this one was a bit shorter, but it was quite intense at the same time, but a bit more normal. And it is as well. My method is that I have been thinking about what I wanted Bowin to be. And something that I in my own life happens to me quite a lot is that I start talking and people can't follow what I'm saying because I'm connecting things that should not be connected or should be connected or well are not relevant or are really this is what I mean. A whole web of ideas that connect in my brain and I pretty much spill out, and then everyone is watching me and saying from what the is he talking about? Here, there nearly went Michel, and that's what I did with Bowin. I can tell you that much because it's apparent that he stumbles over his own words sometimes, which is a character flaw that really happened in our first pre-game. When I first started talking as Bowin, that happened, and it was so logical when that happened. When I thought back about my background, that I was pretty pleased with that. I'm hoping that I'm making more sense right now, but it's well.
Yeah. If I can just add to that, or did you have anything else you wanted to say about it?
I want to say more, but you can add.
Okay, because you were talking about the writing the very long backstories. I did that as well for previous characters, and usually I write like one chapter, maybe 4 pages, about something that happened in their life. So it's just one moment instead of like an event that spans multiple years or whatever. It's just like one moment, and I write about that, and in that moment something happens, or multiple things happen that sort of form the character and how they react or how they are, what the personality is like, and how they think about things that will happen in the future. For Oddleif, this is actually the first time I did not do this. I actually have great difficulty sitting down and writing. So I have a couple of points like, okay, at this age this happened, this age this happened, this age this happened. I wrote it down in sentences, and I did not write a full text on something that happened, which I really wanted to, but I have great difficulty doing it. But it's also because I usually use those just while writing about the previous characters. While writing, things would happen in the story, and my character would react to it while writing. And then afterwards, I read it and I go like, okay, so that's my character. But now I already have that. I had really specific things that I wanted to Oddleif to be and to have experienced. So I was really almost calculating like, okay, I want her to be a bit like this, so I need something that happened here to cause that behavior. So I was sort of planning it out more like that, which is the first time that I ever did that. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Yeah.
So I did it a bit differently now.
So what I wanted to say, I thought you were going to react to me, but that's great. I love
add to it, I said.
Yeah, add to it. Yeah, true. So I did that for Bowin as well before I went to write stuff down. But when I started to do that, it came to me quite naturally, and I had to scrap a really lot of things that I would have normally have included in Bowin's character, because the story came more naturally to me when I was just putting it on paper or into a Word or anything. And but as said, it's a way. I mean, as a DM, I often write down something about a non-playing character that's just playing a simple rule about how he would react or she would react in a certain situation, and I build upon that thing, and then I know where these people are coming from, so I know something about the background, and I leave with that. So if the question is how can I make or what was the question?
How do you create your backstory?
Really good coming up with backstories. It's a mixture between what Michel said, pulling from experiences and not overcomplicate things. And at the same time, when you feel like it and you really want to explore something that's typically you, tenderly touch on that subject somewhere.
Or atypically you.
Or atypically you. Tenderly tend to the subject and incorporate it in your role-playing style over the courses of sessions, and it can grow. It doesn't immediately have to be there.
Yeah, I think that's something you said beginning when you started answering the question, which is you've met players that actually don't have a background on their first few sessions, which is totally fine, because sometimes you just have you have a class and a race that you want to play, and you build your character and you're happy with the character and you're just playing that character, and that's just fine too. Usually, if you are really enjoying it, those backstory elements will just come to you. Usually, if it doesn't happen that automatically for you, then there's things that you can do. Just pull things that you liked from the media that you like, from either television or movies, or your own personal experiences, things that you want to achieve maybe or not.
And then there's also different types of players. Maybe you're just not that player, and you don't feel pressure to make a backstory if you don't want to make a backstory. But if a DM can really build on a backstory, well, then that's something too, you know. maybe you can build on the backstory together. Or
That's also a good tip, actually. Just if you have some elements that you're like, yeah, I think that my character had some traumatic experience, but I really can't figure out what. Then at your DM, he might have something where he goes like, "What if your brother blah 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 did this and this happened," and then you start building it together, which is also a great way of doing it.
yeah. Hey, so there, I think we covered a bit of the things that are being said in chat.
Yeah.
And I think this is long long enough answer for now. We're now 15 minutes past the mark, but I want to answer the following question. You'll see why.
Okay.
It's again from Esner. Because
Thank you,
why
Esner, for
not?
all your questions.
And
Hey, if
Well,
questions need answering, then
yeah,
that's what we're here
indeed.
for.
Yeah. So, and he asks, how does Bowin feel about all that is happening? At times, he does seem to have very strong ideas about how things should be, and he does not hesitate to speak his mind. But at other times, he seems to be at a loss. Well, yes. So what I can tell you about Bowin is that he grew up in the cloister, and he had, for many, many years, from the age of 3, he had the same things happening to him on a daily basis, and he doesn't really know how to cope with these changes he is experiencing. And it's not only the combat; it's also the interaction with people he doesn't know and who are really doing things that he he thought only happened in books. So he likes the library at his cloister where he grew up, and he spent a lot of hours there. And he's a very well educated person for the time setting, and he really is a devout believer of Adon. And but he's led a very sheltered life, and so things he knows, he is very straightforward about saying stuff about those things, as happened in the pre-session that has not aired officially, but has been referred to in the last session, I think, and that's that. When it comes to Aiden, he has very strong opinions, but when it comes to doing things that he's not used to, he asks what he should do because he doesn't know, and it's all a bit surrealistic to him. That's the. I'm not really spoiling anything here, but that's the surface of what's happening right now, and. I really enjoy playing that because every time when something happens, I start to think from what does he know about the thing that's happening right now, but
I specifically recall you asking me what to do in the previous combat.
yeah.
Like, okay, are we stopping that guy? And I just said like, yeah, we're stopping. Stop the
Yeah.
thief. I think. I
And
yelled at you.
there's great power behind this person, but he's very gentle way.
Yeah,
He loves
I
horror.
also remember telling you. I think it's like almost near the end of the previous session where I tell you, I'm sorry that I yelled at you, but what I actually because I didn't never really yelled at you. What I wanted to say was something more in the sense of, I'm sorry that I commanded you to do something because I told you don't. Um, so yeah, it's like something to take with you. It wasn't really. I never really yelled at you. I wasn't sorry for yelling at you. I was sorry for commanding you to do something because I think I see the struggle. It's
Yeah, there's a big struggle going on
your,
there. Yeah,
yeah
what to do and what not to do.
yeah, and I don't feel like I helped by doing that, but
Well,
it was
that's
in
you
that
didn't
moment.
help Bowin, but you did help the adventure, and that's the difference.
Yeah, of course, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's my answer really to that question is that there's a lot going on and there's a lot of first impressions. It's like I have to.
Also, all these characters, mingling and coming together. It's so strange.
Yeah.
You being
And that's
so pious and pious and devout, and some people who are not, or even believe in other things. The whole sun versus Adon discussion was really nice, which I think actually happened in one of the test sessions. So
it's pretty.
I'm
it's
sorry
like
that
the
we
first
keep...
combat, but I think most of the people here saw it. But for future viewers, well, yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're watching this in the future, you probably might have quite possibly seen the first few test episodes as well at some point.
It's almost
or at
funny
least
when
parts.
yeah. It's already a bit, we in the past or something. I don't know. It's we've come a long way in 10 weeks already, I think. But,
yeah, and I loved every moment of
it. Let's stop mesmerizing about that right now, and let's go to the next question, which is also our last question, and I think that's as well because it's 10 to 10. I keep mentioning the time, but that's not because I'm feeling hurried, but that's just because I'm having so much fun and really liking that we are going late. Yeah. Okay, so hey, it's Esner again. He says. Oh man, now I'm forgetting it. That's the question that should have been on the other one.
Yeah. I already know what question you're referring to now.
Yeah. Sorry, because he's in chat as well. It's Drusius, and he's crying right now.
We will talk about it. We will talk about it.
So
I can go for another hour. It'll be fine.
Well, let's keep this one a bit short then, because it's a difficult one as well, and we can speculate a whole lot about it. But I think that's more about developing story. But the damage to the world had been done. What is the lore on this? Is this directly because of the God Wars or because of the absence of the gods for 6 years? Why does chaos rise when the fire magic is gone?
Very good question.
Yeah.
I will answer first, because being the one that made that video, and I've read that text a bunch of times, and I saw it in some different iterations as well, I can honestly tell you that the answer is, I have no idea. I have no idea. We don't know. No, I think Jasper's might be going to try and convince you that he knows, but he also doesn't.
But I do know. No, I don't know either. The funny thing about this question is that it says, why does chaos rise when fire magic is gone? I think it's about the flames in the video or something, because they go poof. I saw that as the divine beings leaving the world.
Yes, me too. But it is very accurately. It is a upside down and reversed in time flames that I put upside down and then reversed to make them sort of disappearing entities.
Yeah. So Roger is telling us in chat that it's actually divine magic, not fire magic. I don't know if it's a mistake or if it's just because of the flames in the video, but it doesn't really matter because we don't know either way. But it's not about fire magic. That's for certain. But it's well, the interesting thing is that the world is being built at the same time as we are building our characters. I mean, it's been in Roger's head for quite a while, but we really have some influence on what we have experienced and what happened to the world. So, but we don't know these kind of details. That's all for our game master, and we're pretty excited about it too. We don't know yet, and we don't even know if it will relate to our story, though I certainly hope it will. But
I think,
and not in the, we don't know in what kind of way it will influence us.
I think if I talk for all the characters, probably for all the characters at this moment in time, once we arrive in Brentwick, each goes their separate ways, and that's
how. That's how Bowin sees it. So talking about that, we are all going to Brentwick. That was kind of our adventuring queue. We can tell that, right? Yes, we can tell that.
Yeah.
And that would have been our pregame, but us being us, we are really
just taking
our time to get there.
rush it out.
And we have so much fun that we decided to we officially would have started there, but it's already an adventure, and we're already developing our characters. And I think one of the other things why we do the stream is to let other people see how you can play Dungeons and Dragons. It doesn't have to be voice acting, or it doesn't have to be totally strategic. It can be a combination of all these things.
Like everyone knows all the rules. We don't know all the rules. We've played a bunch of different tabletop RPGs, and most of us started playing in second, and you even first edition, I guess.
So we have basic Dungeons and Dragons, the red box, but the Dutch version of that. Yeah.
So I DM a 5th edition campaign, but we only did like a couple of sessions, which was my first real experience with 5th edition. So a lot of things are still where somebody says like shield, and I think that's like a +2 to armor class from 1st edition, and then it's like, no, it's now something completely different. It's a reaction spell. It's like I keep learning these things,
and I think
that's one of the things we just ask them when we're on air. Like if something's unsure, just ask, and people can see like, so that's what that rule is or not. And I think that's important.
And even though I've been playing since I was 11, and I've been crossing across Dungeons and Dragons editions, and I mess things up quite often. At the same time, I have this kind of strange library in my head that keeps all the data flowing, so I can improvise on the rules. But sometimes I improvise a bit too much, which is to say, I do not improvise, but I determine success myself. Sorry for that, Game Master. But
it was a good moment.
This was a good moment. But that's how this works, you know. You can't remember all those rules. In my character sheet, there are, I think, 3,000 unique abilities that characters can have. You can't memorize them. It's impossible. But you can sort of get to know the things that you have to use more often, and things that you use less, you have to look up again. Yeah. Especially when you have all these editions in your head.
I'm somebody who likes to do his turns fast. I usually, with previous characters as well, I usually know before my turn comes up what I'm going to do, and I just say like, okay, I do this, roll the die, but when things change in combat, then you really have to on the spot change your things, and then you have to really go back to, okay, I have a bonus action, I have an action, I have my movement, what can I do, what's most optimal or not. And then on the other hand, you also don't want to be too strategic in thinking about it, and then go like, okay, what would I just do at the moment as being Oddleif? What would I do? And
so that's our answer to the damage to the world had been done.
Yes.
Very much off topic, but I think it's
a great off topic, but that's okay. It's okay. We're having fun. I'm enjoying this.
Yeah, I'm enjoying this very much, much more than not much more. I was pretty anxious before this all started.
Careful now.
No, I was pretty nervous before this all started, but I'm not feeling those nerves anymore. So that's
good. That's good. Yeah. I also had a bit of a day, and I'm really happy with how this is going. So
okay. So the final question is called is by Druzellen, which is how it was said. I will not get it on screen because I don't have it ready for some reason. Must have missed something. But and it is why can't we see your die rolls? It's worded a bit differently, but that's the basics of it. Why don't you use a digital die roller so we can all watch you roll? Well,
Yes.
this isn't the first time that this has been asked. It has been asked. It's the thing that has been asked the most, really. And we're really debating on if we want to do this or not. But there are certainly options, so we might do this. The reason why we did not start that way is because we like to roll dice, real dice, and we trust each other to not fudge the rolls, because as a long time of playing RPGs has learned us,
the coolest stuff happens.
Yeah, the coolest stuff happens on the negative result. For example, nearly dying.
Oh man, that session.
Yeah.
Oh, those.
Oh man,
those
if you can ever watch that
rolls.
session, please watch it, please.
But
here we go.
I mean, that part is actually online on our YouTube channel. It's the Combat 101 video.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah,
you
can
and
see
basically
part of it.
it's just Bowin that goes down because no one's actually doing combat. We are being attacked. But
that was the second encounter. We did a bit more of combat, but well, it was really the wolf.
That first encounter, everyone was like, "Yeah, I think I'm sleeping, so I'm not doing anything. Yeah, I'm scared. I'm not doing anything either." And then it's like, "Oh, I got 3 blades in me. I'm dead. I'm not doing anything." And then it started to go like, oh, maybe we should stabilize him. Yeah, let's try and stabilize him. And then everybody was just failing their rolls and nobody got stabilized.
And we failed them. That's the point. We failed them off screen.
Yeah.
And we rolled them for real. And I almost died. But
you almost lost your character in the first.
And we could do that on stream. We could use a digital dice roller, and we might include that in our future streams. Maybe not.
I'm going to say something about it.
Okay.
Because I haven't really answered the question yet. There's one big advantage that I see of the using dice rollers, and that's that nobody else is doing it, and you can see the die roll.
Yeah,
that's a big advantage. Your audience can see your die roll, and nobody else is doing that. I think. Maybe correct me if I'm wrong. YouTube comment or Twitch chat if I'm wrong. Anyway, so that's the only advantage. The disadvantage is that I love dice. I love rolling dice. That's one of the things that I love about this game. I love taking a whole bunch of dice and do like this and then throw them onto the table and see what comes up. I like doing the math real quickly. And I'm one of those guys that every time I make a new character, I buy new dice that go with that character. All the dice sets. No, I know that you're not one of those, but I bought specific dice that for Oddleif. Can I show them? Yes, I think I can. So, Oddleif has blue hair and some raven-like insignia, so I bought blue dice, and I don't think you can see it, but there's some nice raven details on this where you can see small ravens on it, which I thought was really cool. And then also Oddleif is based on some Icelandic elements, so I bought these dice, and her cloak and clothing is mostly gray, so I bought these gray dice with all these Celtic sort of knot type elements to it. So yeah, those are my dice for Oddleif, and I'm one of those guys, and I have all these sorts of dice sets for all the characters that I have ever played, and I hate using dice rollers because I feel, and I'm a scientist, I know it's not true, but I feel that when I roll them physically, that I have some sort of control over them. And the dice roller just takes a random element of the universe. It's just some random from from your computer clock and takes some random element from it. It's not even truly random because he's using your computer clock, and I hate it. So there's your answer. I hate it, and I will never use it.
But we might. But
unless I really have to.
I want to talk about my dice a little as well. So this is my yellow D20 that I have had since I was 11. I roll criticals with it as a dungeon master. I roll bad with it as a player. And this is one I got from my team at my previous employer. And it's green, which was the color associated with that previous employer. And it's a Jasper gemstone. So, and those are the two sets I love the most. So I roll with them, and I've always been rolling. And I have the set.
Cool.
The set is still complete from when I was 11. It's 6 dice, not 7, because the D10 is just a D10. I have to roll it twice. Yeah.
I can just
Well, you have had this yellow dice for over 35 years now. No, I'm not that old, but I'm old.
But it is funny how you say, like, I with this die, I always roll criticals when I'm the DM and bad when I'm a player. It's really funny that you're saying that, because we know it's not true. Yeah. But it might be true. It feels true. I believe you as a person, not as a scientist. And I have the same thing. So for one of the longest running campaigns, where Roger, who's the DM for the Precipice of Dreams, was also the DM, which was called The Legacy of Time and ran for more than 10 years.
So now he's going to correct you, chat. I know for sure.
Yeah. Correct me. But I played Strife McKinnon, a fighter, and I used the same dice, and I would always roll really, 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 really well. So whenever I feel still in other campaigns that I really need to roll really, really well, I would still sometimes take out those dice and make the roll with them. So.
Okay, but that's not the question of if we are going to use digital die. You see, we get off topic quite a lot. But 23 and counting, he says now. So, but we're not in it anymore, so that's a different thing.
We're not in that campaign
a bit in it, and I know a lot about.
I have a character in it. I started in that campaign, and then I moved to Ghent, and I had to stop because. Yeah. And that's also refers back to the first question, which was the difference between sitting around a table or doing it digitally from home. So when everybody's at home with their own PC and their own mic and their own camera, it really, really works. When it doesn't work is when there's a group around a table and then there's one screen with one person sitting at home with a webcam and a microphone. That does not work. We tried it when I just moved to Ghent, and people would just start talking amongst each other around the table, and I couldn't hear anything anymore. And then, that it's a shame, but it's really, you don't really feel the same thing.
But we have a player at our table who has done it for 6 years now. Great respect.
Yeah, well, respect because it's really difficult, and it's. Yeah. For me, it was really difficult to just keep track of what was happening and what people were saying, and I couldn't really follow what people were saying. The connection was bad. You would disconnect every 15 minutes or something, and I with pain in my heart, I had to, which is a Dutch expression, I think, but
I had to do that.
I had to. I had to tell the guys, I'm sorry, but I have to stop with this campaign because I can't do it anymore, and I'm not enjoying it as I am. But the character is still alive, so who knows? Maybe in the future I can come back, make a big comeback.
So that doesn't answer your question, Druzellen, or Druzis, or how you call it now in chat. But we're thinking about it.
It does answer It does answer the question. Are you going to use digital dice rollers? No, we're not.
You said no, but I said maybe.
Because we love because we love rolling physical
Yeah,
die.
I know, but we'll see.
I would rather have a camera pointed at my dice rolls if people really wanted to see my dice rolls.
Let's see what happens. I think that's
But
it for
that we need.
I'm going to round it. What? See, this is what happens.
We need. Yeah, I know. I keep talking.
No, that's not what. Well,
but we need all of your support on our Instagram and our Twitch and our YouTube, and we need everyone to watch everything because we have so many cool ideas and we want to do them all, like having personal cameras on our dice rolls, so we don't have to use digital dice rollers, but you can still see what we're
yeah, well,
there
for the future. But I think mentioning the socials and everything, it's a good introduction to our introduction. Well, man, I had fun.
I segue into it. I had a lot of fun. I can go on for another hour. Shall I just keep talking? So you
can, but I will end the stream. Now I will end.
Oh, okay. Well, then I'll just stop.
Yeah, okay. Well, thank you all for joining us on this evening. Sorry for running late, but we hope you had fun as well. And see you next time. See you next week on the Precipice of Dreams. And see you in 2 weeks here live on Twitch. And
very important. But the Precipice on Dreams on a Monday. We're now on a Tuesday, but next week on Monday not at 9, but at 8:30 p.m. Central European Time. Tune in on twitch.tv/Voidcast Live for the Precipice of Dreams for our official episode 2 of the Precipice of Dreams. And we finally get to figure out what's in the box because we want to know what's in the box.
Oh, you're well, I don't know about that, but okay.
I don't know about Oddleif doesn't know about the box, but I want to know about it.
Yeah, but are we? Well, that's the other question. Goodbye. See ya all. Bye.
Thank you guys for watching. See you next time.